Okay, so I was trying to think how long it is that we've known Paul and Jane. It feels like a long time.
It does, and it's probably not as long as it feels.
Shall I dob you in? We were just talking about. I was talking about things that feel a bit longer than they perhaps are. I had a text from Mike, so I just wanted to say happy anniversary to Mike and Sue. It's their 38th wedding anniversary today. Not their 48, as he put in the text. Anyway, so I'm trying to think about how long we've known you guys, but it's a little while now, isn't it? So we kind of got to know Paul and Jane as we partnered with them and a few other people doing Healing on the Streets. So it was kind of like a cross-church initiative. You know when you sort of invite churches to come and be involved with stuff, and people go, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, or yeah, well, what about this, what about that? And then you find out that actually when you start to do it, there's actually only two churches, really, who are going to do this. Okay, so that's kind of what it was like, and these guys were part of that, and so we got to know them through that. But what Nikki and I have watched as we've got to know them closely, is their fearless determination to go for the more of God, and just to go deeper and deeper in their own experience of God, their own vulnerability to God, as well as the expectations of stepping out with what they're experiencing, the authenticity of that encounter, and taking that wherever they go. So some years ago, we had a phone call from Jane, and it was along the lines of, would it be okay for the Smith family to come and hang out at Living Waters? Would that be okay? Well, we're a pretty kind of cautious bunch here in terms of welcoming new people, aren't we? So you can imagine, yeah, of course you can. Yeah, come along. Everybody else does. They hang out, and that's fine. So it felt like it was going to be just a temporary season, maybe. But there was stuff going on in their lives and what God was doing with them, which was actually something that was taking them into a new place, a new direction, and actually they needed a transition point. They needed to be around a few people who could perhaps just give them a little bit of a helping hand from time to time, and counsel, and just pray and whatever else. So they hung out here for a little while. It turned out to be a bit longer actually than we expected, and we loved having them. And then a little while back, they felt that God was calling them to continue in this journey of experiencing more of Him, and also finding out how you carry that into the places that you're called. And so they stepped into the Supernatural School of Ministry at Bethel. Some of you will know the church in California, where there's a real focus on supernatural encounter, and this was something that Paul and Jane and the family decided to do. So they were there for a couple of years, just stepping into whatever God had for them, and came back here for a little while, briefly, and have had a year or more now, actually, isn't it? A little bit more than that, back here. But whilst they were out there, they met someone, and I'll let them tell a little bit of that story. But we just I wanted to set the scene, because we feel like these guys are family. So that's very much how we feel. They're going to talk a bit about where they've come from, where they're headed, and what they feel God has got for them right now, and what they're wanting to share with us. And we're going to just give them the space and the floor to do whatever, because we trust them with that space and floor. And we want to receive them and welcome them. So some of you won't have met them even. That's why I'm going into this lengthy description, to say that they belong to us, with us. We belong with them. So when they go to Mozambique, which is the plan in the next few weeks, a part of us will be with them. Our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers, just a sense of sending. It's not like, okay, they came here for a transition period and they left. Actually, they came here for a transition period. God planted them in our hearts. And now he's transplanting part of us into another place. Okay? It's a different dynamic from what I think any of us may have expected. I just wanted to set the scene so that we receive them well. Perhaps we give them a big round of applause. I don't know who's coming first.
Close I need to stand to these.
Hopefully
Not very.
not too close.
Not very. Is that right? Well, it is just our very great privilege to belong here with you guys, to be counted with you guys. What a wonderful thing that is. How lovely to be here this morning with you. And I know everybody says that, but they actually don't mean it as much as I do. Yeah, we're off in a week, so if I look like I haven't slept for about a month, that's because I haven't slept for about a month. It's a bit crazy. I want to share with you a little bit looking back and a little bit looking forward. Right now, we're in the middle of a story. We like to have everything tied up and all the loose ends tied up, and it would be lovely if, sort of leaving for Mozambique, we felt that everything was neatly packaged, and it was one thing was ending and one thing was beginning, but it's not actually like that. We're in the middle of a story. In the middle of a testimony. We're so grateful for so many things. God has provided for us in so many ways. He has got us out of so many scrapes. He has helped us through so many difficult things. So we're here this morning with a really profound sense of his faithfulness and of our gratitude to him and our dependence on him. We wouldn't be going anywhere without him. And also, we're here this morning with loose ends. There's still a lot of things that aren't sorted yet, even some quite difficult things, that we don't know how that's going to work out or what's going to happen with that. And that's where we are in the middle of a story, of a testimony. The last 18 months for us, I was thinking about how best to describe that, and I think a children's book does it best. There's one called We're Going on a Bear Hunt that I've read about 997 times in my life. And family sets off and there are all these obstacles to overcome, and you can do the actions and get the sound effects of all the obstacles. There's a long grass, and in our house this is the long grass. That wasn't. It's something like this. We're going on a bear hunt. What a beautiful day. It's going to be a good one. We're not scared. Uh-oh. A forest. A deep, gloomy forest. We can't go over it. We can't go under it. We've got to go through it. And then the effect for that one is stumble, trip, stumble, trip. And that is a bit like our last 18 months have been, stumbling and tripping through this gloomy forest, feeling quite bewildered at times, and then punctuated by moments of God's amazing presence and love, just reminding us who we are and why we're here and who He is. But sometimes it has been quite confusing to find ourselves stumbling and tripping along, because when you say a big yes to God, isn't it supposed to be like a wonderful sailing sensation? Are you supposed to soar on the eagle's wings when you give Him your yes? So we've had this confusion, this tension. And of course, like as a family, we love to read about bear hunts, but we're really not risk takers. There's particularly not in my character, to go out looking for excitement. I find it very exciting to sit by the fire with a cup of cocoa. That is excitement for me. In fact, perhaps I can use sitting by the fire with a cup of cocoa as a sort of symbol for my comfort zone. That's where I love to be. And as I sit there, Jesus comes and he wrecks me with his love. And how beautiful he is. And even my beloved comfort zone, my life that is manageable, where everything seems to be more or less okay and I can cope with it, somehow it pales because he's so beautiful. And even though really the last thing I want to do is to get out of my armchair, suddenly I want even more to come with him. Because who else would I want to be with? But then when I do get out of my armchair, suddenly everything is a bit crazy and a bit difficult and a bit messy, and we get all these loose ends and all these things that I can't manage and I'm not on top of and I'm struggling with. And that's kind of where we are, really. And there are days when these really big struggles come up. And there are days when somehow we have started to be able to say, okay, God, we know you've got this one. Because you had the last one, and that was impossible. And you had the one before that, and that was completely impossible. And we know you've got this, and we have no idea how you are going to pull this off. But we know you're going to. And on those days, it's like, I think I'm getting eagle's wings. I think today, I'm flying. But then the next day, unfortunately, the problem that lands in my lap happens to be the only problem ever known to man that Jesus can't solve. And I just run around screaming. And on those days, I just find, or maybe the next day, but sooner or later, I find his grace and his love, and I find him telling me that he's still proud of me. And however big a mess I've just made, he's still proud of me. And on the days when I get the eagle's wings on, he's proud of me then too. So when you look at it from that point of view, it's kind of win-win. So, yeah, here we are, between the armchair and the wings, heading off, jumping off the edge of another cliff. And every time we do that, it gets us into all sorts of trouble, so we are a little bit nervous. We are incredibly aware of God's presence and his love, and continue to be desperate for more of him. We know that he has shown us so much and loved us so deeply. And there's so much more. There is so much more. And what an honour to have that to give away. The other day, had an experience which kind of illustrates this a bit. We've been staying with Paul's parents in Suffolk, and I was driving past a church that I've never been inside, but I met the pastor a couple of times, and I had the impression I was supposed to stop and give the pastor a word of encouragement and maybe pray with him. So I ummed and ahed for a minute, because it's never convenient, is it? But I did. And I went in, and he wasn't there. And the cleaning lady was there. And so I said hello to her, asked for him, and went out again. And I thought, oh well, that's fine, I got that wrong, no problem. And then I was back in my car, and I thought, well, perhaps she's the one that needs a word of encouragement. So I got back out of my car, and I'm walking in and thinking, but I don't have a word for her, I don't know her, And I just felt Holy Spirit say, just tell her that I value the work she does. And I'm there thinking, that's not very profound, is it? But I did. She burst into tears. I prayed for her. And I'm thinking this isn't very profound. I pray what I always pray, like more of God's love. More of God's love. Pray for him to really wreck her heart with his love. And afterwards, amongst the sobs, she said to me, but I asked him to send someone. I asked him to send someone to me because I was wondering if he didn't love me anymore. She'd be going through some really hard stuff. And I'm probably in tears by this point, overcome by the honour of being the one he sends. Just, almost it didn't matter what I said to her, because she'd asked God to send someone, and I happened to be driving past and he sent me. What an honour that is. And I think it's a good example, because I was getting it all wrong. No, I thought I was going there to give a particular word to someone who wasn't even there. And yet, in amongst all that, I was the one he sent because of his love and his grace. And that's really what we're doing. And I'm sure you know when I'm talking about sending, I'm not talking about going to Mozambique, because that would be far too narrow, you know. Just to be the one he sends every day, wherever I am. So, we so value your support. We so feel that you're journeying with us as we stumble our way through life, you know, choosing life, trying to choose life, trying to embrace the mess and the grace and the love and the provision that God heaps on us. And we are grateful to him, and we're grateful to you. And I think it's Paul's turn.
Yes, so that's a pretty good description of where we are. Where are we going to? Mozambique, on the east coast of Africa, southern hemisphere. It's winter there when it's summer here, and vice versa. And it's hot and sweaty and malarial. And it's a country full of a history of war, and the people there are just so open and so thirsty, and just beautiful, beautiful people. And when we went out to visit a year and a half ago, we were just overwhelmed by God's love for these people, that just desperate to know him and to know more about him. And so our plan what we believe is God's dream for us, is to go and work in a vocational training school which gives skills to young people who don't have much opportunity or hope. And the name of this vocational institute is Terero, and Terero means hope in their local language, Tchewe. And that really resounded with us, because the first time we heard that, we were hearing a lot about hope, and we were trying to find hope and grasp onto it. And so that really resonated with our hearts. So that's where we're going. I'm just going to pick a hole in what Andy said. I don't often disagree with Andy. In fact, this might be the first time. But just a theological point there. He said that we have fearless determination. Maybe the determination, but fearless is not true. And we are not anything sort of special. You know, I've looked at missionaries up the front before and thought, wow, you know, they have some Elijah anointing or something like this. But we have plenty of fears. And it just, what James said about this journey, the stumbling, the tripping, and God rescuing us time and time again, is, really what this journey is about. And something else that we've really discovered, the song Be Thou My Vision. What a fantastic song, and there are so many words in that sum up the journey for us. Be my vision, be my sword for the fight. There's one thing they're missing, be my fixer. He is amazing. There are so many things when we're just in a complete mess, and we've got a fixer, and he fixes it for us. He fixes people for us as well, and situations, and governments, and bureaucracy. And so when we come up against a wall and we just can't see any way round it, or any way over it, or under it, he finds a way through it. For me, a big part of the journey has been finances. You know, the man's the provider for the family and all that, and the responsibility, and trusting God with that has been an ongoing journey for me, and it's one I still am on. And we are just so grateful to Living Waters Church and individuals who have supported us. And so I just want to say a big thank you for that. This is not I'm not rattling a box here for money, I'm just saying thank you, because it means so much to us. And something else that we are just trusting God for and thanking him for at the same time. So that's where we're going. For us, a big part of this as well is our children. You know, what's happening with our children. So 2 of our children are quite significant. No, that doesn't sound right. 3 of our children are very significant. 2 of them have a reason for why we're doing things the way we are. We're going out short term, and then we're coming back, and then we're going again. And the reason behind that is Andrew is going to come back here and do some GCSEs in the summer. Peter is in America, and he's getting married. And they have kindly synchronized these events for us. So so we're going out until the end of April, then we're coming back briefly on the way to America to Peter's wedding. Then we come back here, Andrew does his GCSEs, Peter has his second wedding. And
To the same
Just
to
the
the
one
same
wife.
person. And then we go out again. There's a visa thing as well, that we don't have our work visas yet, so we're going out on a visitor's visa, and then when we come back, we're trusting that God will have fixed our work visa for us. If you stand with us in praying all of that through for us as well, that would be amazing. I think that's it. Is there anything else I need to say? Anything Andrew or Jen wants to say? That's it. That's our journey.